Yo, what's up, guys, and welcome back to the 11th episode of the SOUNDPROOF podcast with myself, Tom Wilson. We've got Jonth here as always.
What's good?
And this week we've got Dan Lee on the podcast with us, who is the general manager for NCS. How's it going, dude?
Very good. Thanks so much for having me.
It's awesome having you on. So yeah, this is the first time we've had like an industry professional on the podcast, so it's going to be a bit different to usual, but it's going to be awesome to get his insight into the industry and just learn more about NCS from like the label side. So yeah, it's great to have you on. First of all, I wanted to just ask what your job entails. So what does it mean for you being the general manager?
I guess generally kind of working across the company. But yeah, like, I mean, it wasn't where I started, but now that I'm here and we've got like a team that we work with, it's quite a, I mean, the name is general manager and it literally is generally across everything. So I get to sort of dip my toes in a lot of things. Yeah. So I'm, heavily involved in the music, selecting, accepting demos, etc. Working with the team on sort of like campaign ideas. A lot of the sort of boring like legal, admin, HR, like the stuff that I thought I'd never ever do is like, like HR stuff for the team, but obviously it's all needed. So I work across everything and I really enjoy it actually. Just sort of learn a lot more. When I first came in, I was just managing the label. Okay. But yeah, really sort of enjoying it now, just working across all the different facets of the business.
Yeah. So what were you doing when just managing the label? What was that?
So when I first started, I was, basically whenever we would sign a track, I would be the person that was scheduling it. I'd be creating the artwork. I would create any sort of animations that were needed, do the pitching. Back then, it was quite basic things that we did. Now I think we do a hell of a lot more. But yeah, originally it was just purely the label, whereas now I think we've become more of a brand. We've got all these sort of separate facets of us as a company.
Yeah. So you've gone from doing everything yourself, so like all the graphic design and managing the releases, to having all different people doing it now as such.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So nice. How did you like from the beginning of everything? How did you even get into the like industry overall? Like, where did it?
So I, believe it or not, I started making music.
No shit.
Yeah. So I originally was in a band. So I used to play drums in a band in school. Nice. Really enjoyed it. And then my dad actually was playing a little bit of drums at the time, and he bought an electric drum kit. And then I started learning that, if I've got an electric drum kit and I plug it in MIDI to my computer, I can play with different styles of drum kits and I can record it. So then I started recording things in Cubase. Originally it was Magic's Music Maker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then I started putting it in Cubase, started making some songs. And then from that point, I started realizing that I could put my music on like YouTube and SoundCloud, but then I saw like some artists were putting their music on iTunes and like Spotify. And I was like, how is this even possible? Like how are people doing this? And bear in mind, this was probably, I'm going to say this was probably over 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, something like that. And at the time, services like TuneCore and, Root No or CD Baby, they probably were around, but they weren't as commonly used as they are now. Yeah. Anyway, I ended up getting a distribution deal and started distributing my own music. And then I had like other people coming up to me going like, how did you get your music on iTunes? How did you get your music on Spotify? And I was like, I don't know. I'll do it for you. So I just started distributing people's music for them. And then I probably had like 30, 40 tracks from other artists that I distributed. And then I sort of realized, I'm a record label now.
Yeah, so exactly.
Then I was like, okay, I went from being like a producer to like, okay, I'm now a record label. So I called my record label Bearskin Records. I was very proud about it, and
Nice.
I loved it. And then I started signing some artists. And then I just sort of started, like, at that point, I hadn't really spoken to anyone in the industry. I'd only ever spoken to other artists. And then I kept seeing this, that like artists had managers, and I was like, what is a manager? Like, what do they really do? And then I started working. Basically, I got in contact with this guy called Ice Cold, who I'm sure you guys know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I loved his music. And I was like, I would love to manage you one day. Bear in mind, I didn't even know what management meant. I just said, I'd love to manage you. And he was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And then from that point, I ended up managing him. It was a funny story that, like, he was 17 at the time and he couldn't get the approval from his parents. So then, like, on his 18th birthday, he messaged me like, you know, let's do it and all this sort of stuff. And from there, it's just kind of like winging it. And as soon as I was a manager, I really then started to try and connect with people in the music industry. Yeah. I remember the first person that I ever actually met from the music industry was a guy called Ed Brew, who at the time was working with Monster Cat. And I was like, whoa, I'm about to meet someone that's like working with Monster Cat. Like, this is their full-time job. So I drove, it was like 3 or 4 hours just to go and meet him for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was the most surreal thing. I'm sure you probably had this one time, but absolutely. Like, I could talk to him about artists. Like it was like, oh my God, you know people that I'm talking about, and like we're both a fan of it. Yeah. So sorry. Then, you know, long story long, then was managing some artists. So I started with managing Ice Cold, picked a few other artists up throughout that time. And then a bit further down the line, I ended up going to an event called Dance Fair, which I think you guys have been to, right?
Yes, someone. Milo actually signed his first NCS record on Dance Fair. I've never had the pleasure of going, sadly.
Awesome.
I've been to AD a couple times now. So
yeah, I mean, well, Dance Fair is actually my favorite. I don't think it's running anymore, sadly.
Isn't it?
But Dance Fair is my favorite. I don't know.
I think it is. It's just been delayed for multiple years because of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Right. But it's my absolute favorite because it's like a real chance for artists to meet labels properly. Like ADE wasn't quite that. I think it moved towards it. But anyway, Dance Fair, went to this thing called Dance Fair with Ice Cold. We'd stayed together in this crappy hotel, and there was a brand there called Future House Music who Jan Willem, Ice Cold, and I were really like fans of. And we were like, oh, we really want to try and get some music released with those guys. And I was being a fanboy, trying to like follow the Future House Music guys around, trying to introduce myself, and I ended up handing one of them a USB. And then we ended up talking about Ice Cold, and we had this track called Close, which was I'd say is like sort of my like first sort of kick in the music industry.
Yeah,
I'd done like little bits around like Future House and little releases before, like Mr. Suicide Sheet. We had a good promotion through that. But it was really that track Close that kickstarted my career. So anyway, Future House Music wanted to sign it. And then on my birthday, well, before my birthday, I messaged Billy, who owns NCS. I messaged him, hey, I've got this track called Close. Don't know whether you're interested. Didn't get back to me, didn't think about it. It was fine. We'd never really spoken before then. And then on my birthday, he got a Skype notification saying it's my birthday. And then he sent me a happy birthday and whatnot. And then he heard the track and he was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I want to sign it. And I was like, oh, well, Future House Music want it as well. And then from that point, we ended up releasing it as a co-release, which was like the first ever co-release between NCS and FHM, it was huge. And at that point, I then went and had a Nando's with Billy, and he was talking about how stressed he is, you know, doing all this work for NCS, like managing the channel and things like that. And as soon as he said that, my instant reaction was like, I'll help you. I'll do whatever I can to help you. And that's how I got my job. So really just literally been winging it as like, you know, first I was an artist, then I guess I started record label and tried to do management, and yeah, was fortunate enough to meet Billy, and here I am today.
Yeah, it's awesome as well. It's very, very inspiring, because I can imagine that a lot of people who are actually listening to this podcast like have like a similar journey into their like life as musicians overall. But I remember when I was younger, I had this whole like kind of like a dilemma. I wanted to become this, but it felt like so impossible. But like when you hear stories like this, it sounds like, you know, under the right circumstances, anyone could do them. And like you're very successful now as well, which is it's awesome to see. And NCS is very successful with you on it as well. And it's so cool that like you started with this whole like Close song, because that is still popping off, especially thanks to, or not especially, but like also thanks to the Brooks remix that is still going like to this day.
Well, yeah, I mean that was huge as well. Like massive fanboys of Brooks, and then he did the remix. That was massive. But I also think, you know, to sort of, sorry, I literally just got like 1,000 notifications in 1 second.
It's DanDM,
just so,
DanDM.com.
But I think the thing about it was like, I'm extremely lucky to be where I am, and like extremely lucky to have had the path that I've had. But I think there's also a certain amount of credit in terms of the luck is only there because I put myself in the right position. I created that luck for myself. And I think that's what people do through the industry, or any industry really, is like position yourself so that opportunity can arise. And then you've got more, well, you're on the right path then. So
I think what you've shown as well is what I've talked about before, is how important it is making a personal connection. So making the effort to go and meet someone, because they remember you like 100 times better than the person that emailed them. If you've gone and said, hi, this is my name, like, here's my song, or what opportunities you've got, sort of thing. It makes such a difference, honestly, meeting people in person.
That's one of the reasons actually why if I manage to get to ADE this year, I'm gonna try and set up like a bunch of meetings with like different artists and all that. And I actually have a friend now that I'm kind of like working with a little bit like behind the curtains, and I'm gonna try and help him out set up like a couple of meetings, because he's never like done anything like this. It's his first like it's gonna be his first work day in the industry at all, because he's never released a record. He's just very talented, you know. And I'm gonna try and help him out, set him up like with a couple like meetings with record labels that I know and like artists that I know and shit like that, if I manage to get there this year. But I feel like I'm gonna treat it differently this year, because it's always been about the partying and all that, like every other year.
It's relationships now. You can, there's all good doing these Zoom calls and FaceTimes and whatever, but building a relationship in person, I think, is like 10 times better. I had someone message me earlier about it's like, hey, you know, you would love to play an NCS show for ADE, and I was like, I hadn't even thought about it, because it's for me, it's like I'm so unsure if all of this sort of stuff is going to be going ahead. But hopefully ADE happens and we go.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. I think everyone
looks like it's gonna happen this year. Like they're very confident that they're gonna get it done this year. So, and I keep my hopes up as well. So, I just got to sell a couple of Ghost productions so I can actually afford it this year.
I want to talk about NCS more again then. So like we talk about it quite a lot on the show, because a lot of the people that come on have been NCS artists before, and their experience with it. But like, what specifically are you looking for, Percy, when you sign new music?
Ooh, I've been saying a lot recently that I love tracks that are kind of like pop electronic crossover. Don't get me wrong, I love a sick drum and bass beat, but I do think that sometimes the pop electronic crossover means that more of an audience can enjoy it. So that's what I've been enjoying a lot recently, because I like to listen to it. And one thing I've been trying to get more into is actually listening to the lyrics. Half of the tracks that come through NCS, the lyrical melody, I'm like, oh, that sounds great, but I'm never actually listening to the lyrics. Whereas that's something I'm trying to do now with.
I feel like that's something that's been very normal, like these past just 20 years. Like if you listen closely enough to the lyrics of, especially like electronic music overall, like the melody is nice, but the lyrics are just complete bullshit. They're just saying a lot of things about nothing, you know, or it's just a cliche like love song. And I'm also very bored of that as like someone who writes lyrics and that.
From a producer standpoint, you always focus on the drop. The drop's the main thing, and then you're like, the vocal's a secondary thing, isn't it? Normally, but it can make or break a track a lot of the time.
No, I don't know. Like from my perspective, I completely disagree. I feel like the whole track, it shouldn't feel like two separate tracks going into each other, like with a verse and then a drop that sounds like a completely different song. And I feel like that's so normal these days that like people are still sending demos like what Spinning Records sounded like fucking 6 years ago. You know? And, so but I agree with that as well. Like just look at Suburban right now with their whole like pop electronic kind of vibe, and they're popping off right now as well. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, they worked on that song for, what's her name, the TikTok
Porch.
Yeah. So they worked on that, and that's popping off as well. So that's fucking huge, you know. It's lovely to see.
Well, that's it. I like that sort of pop style. But however, if there's anyone listening going, oh well, I don't make pop music, so I can't send it to NCS now. We do accept every genre, and we love it. So it's not just pop electronic.
It's just that the song needs to have an edge right now, because I can imagine that you guys get a lot of demos, and a lot of it just sounds super like similar to each other after a while. It's like people are trying to follow a formula, you know, to get on NCS. That's not how it works.
It's literally like it's about 1,000 a week. So there's 3 of us that go through the demos, 1,000 a week, and I can tell you that 99% of them, honestly, because I've listened to so many, it feels like I'm listening to the same song over and over again, which I don't blame that on people, because I get it. But then there's these tracks where it's like it's just got it's different, you know. It's like got some sort of weird vibe, or actually, that I'll go through some demo sessions where it's the same splice vocal in like 200 of the tracks. Do you know what I mean? Where and I love splice. I think what they do is awesome for producers, but I really do love when there's a proper written vocal as well,
of course. And the thing is, like, with NCS being how like as big and successful as it is now, you have definitely got the rights to be like very critical about these things when you sign records as well. Like I can imagine a smaller label be like, oh, this is a dope vocal, we already signed a record with this though, but like, well, we'll take it because it's a good song. But you get so many demos, and like a lot of them are pretty good quality, but there's only a few of them that are like this.
Well, we want to release what's the best for the audience. We want the audience every single video to go, oh my god, this is amazing. So we've really got to be quite selective.
So you know, when you're listening through like 1,000 demos or something, when you hear one which like you think, this is it, this is awesome. From a production standpoint, what's like one thing that like normally stands out to you, like which makes you think, this is a track I want to sign?
Well, like honestly, like the production quality, like mixing, mastering, just the overall quality of the sound of it is the first thing that gets me, because it's quite often that you can listen to 10 seconds of a demo and know whether it's going to work or not. And I'm sure that's horrible to hear for some producers, because they go, well, I've just worked on 3 minutes of song. But 10 seconds, you can work out, okay, is it going in the right direction or not? Definitely production quality, because you can tell that almost straight away whether they're a bit more of beginner style production quality, or they've been doing this for 5+ years and their sound is just unreal. I mean, I would say first of all it's the production quality, and then I'll really listen to like the melody and the drop. But when we're in like a demo session, like we will literally get super excited about some of these tracks where we're like, oh my fucking god, like this sounds awesome.
We actually had a quite interesting discussion. I don't remember exactly who it was. It might have been the one that we had with Mo Falk, but I can't remember. It was one of these episodes where we were saying like some record labels go ahead and send your song in twice or even 3 times, because like it could just be a bad day. It could just be like they hit the wrong spot on the track when they were trying to listen to the 10-second demo and shit like that. You know? Like how often do you receive the same demo, like more than once?
Honestly, it does happen. Like Billy and I used to listen to demos and we used to go, oh, that's terrible. And then literally like a week later we listened to it like, oh, this is actually quite cool. So you are right, but I don't know how often people resend things. It would get a bit annoying if it was like, you know, a few days later. I think maybe give it some breathing room.
Because I like to do that. I like to do that sometimes, like where I send a demo and then I wait a month or two, because it could have just been a bad day, you know, to send a demo. And I've actually had occasions where records get signed on the second try, so it's definitely it's definitely worth it. And obviously getting this out there that people can send their demos like twice. Maybe you're gonna review like 2,000 tracks a week now, but you never know.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, what I quite like with which I've had before with NCS is where they've like sent back small bits of feedback and then you do that 2 weeks later. But the nice thing with I think it's Ago now, one of the A&Rs, he sends back quite detailed feedback, and then I'll go back and I'll spend a month reworking it and then send it back in, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
He's wicked. Like that's been a total game changer for us to actually have someone on the team that's got like deep musical knowledge. So he's in a group called Cartoon, which obviously had some massive success on NCS. And like having him on the team to really sort of like, I'll often go like, oh, I'm not feeling the vibe of the drop or whatever. And then he'll go, oh, do you mean the kick needs a higher resonation on? Like, you know, like he'll go on, he knows exactly what I mean. In producer talk.
Well, like sometimes I feel like us as producers also get very hung up on like tiny details like that when we're trying to produce a song as well, which kind of like at the end of the day could ruin the whole like idea of the song, because you'll never get to release it because you never think that it's perfect enough. And that's why like getting feedback like this from people that like are actually willing to sign your track if you just fix these like specific issues, getting the second like opinion on it is super important. So I love that you guys got that going for you as well. Another thing like that I'm actually really curious about, like when you're signing a record, because I know that there are other labels out there like Monster Cat, for instance, are very interested in the like branding of the artist or like branding ideas of the single.
Like they only do multi-track deals as such, you know what I mean?
So like let's say you receive a demo from anyone like right now, and they say that they had like a huge like promo plan idea for it. They got like they have an artwork idea like already like sketched up, and they got everything that they want. Do you prefer working that way? Like, is that a bonus, or do you like, does it not matter to you at all?
We really love it. Like, so I mean, over the past 5 years, like we've gone from just putting tracks out on YouTube to now actually we're doing full-blown campaigns with people. So we really love that when actually an artist comes with an idea, or if they've got, as you said, like their own sort of branding. So what we do is every time we sign a track based on we have a new release schedule set up, which goes super in depth, and hopefully you guys will see that when we have some new music from you guys.
What's that new page you're using now that kind of collates everything together with all the information?
So that's like the release hub, and we want that to be like where all of your information is, and it's where we can both collaborate on like, okay, here's ideas for this release, so that, you know, if you've got an idea and you want to film some content, we make it happen. But yeah, you mentioned like the multi-track thing. It can sometimes help if we're going to be doing a large campaign. It can help to say, okay, let's try and spread this across 3 or 4 tracks. But I do think there's still a lot that we can do on singles. So hopefully you'll see that in the new schedule.
Yeah, like NCS, with it being like still a very YouTube-based label, I can imagine that like just singles are still where you thrive. Even though you have signed like albums and that before, like the album from Unknown Brain, which is an album that I really love as well. And it definitely works with albums, especially with artists like Unknown Brain. But I still think, singles is the way to go here.
So when someone sends a demo in as such, if their branding's already in place in terms of so like when they send the track, do you look at their Instagram? Do you go to their Instagram and go, this looks awesome? Or do you focus more on the music now?
No. So I would say we've always been number one music. So like when we listen to a demo, we literally don't even know who it's from. We're just listening to the demo. So we don't look at that. If we kind of like it, we'd then go, oh, who's this? Like, what is this? But it's always number one music. But what we do is we meet up as a team, and we will go through the artist's socials, we'll go through their brand, and we have the whole team involved, and we're like, okay, have we got any ideas for this release? What if we did, say if they're always talking about pizza, is there like a pizza class that we could do with them as really cool content that's a part of their brand? So we definitely look at that from more of a marketing perspective, not pre-demo though.
Okay, nice. So yeah, because I've seen this shift. I think everyone's seen this where NCS is becoming a lot more artist focused. So it's gone from just being the releases to including the artists in every step of it, like the promotion and stuff. So like, what was the main decision behind moving to this? Well, yeah, I mean,
to be honest, it probably comes from the label side of the company, because so Pete, our label manager, his background is from other labels in the past, major labels, etc. And I think a big push of his was to give more back to the artists, because he's used to working with artists rather than just tracks. And I think although we're just releasing tracks, there is a lot of things we can do with that artist. Like the NCS Arcade channel, which we've launched, that we're really trying to build out to be like a home of great artist content. So really it's fans come to us to listen to music, but they also want to know who's behind that music. And I think before we were doing this, there was some fans that even thought that like we make the music.
Yeah,
you see that in the comments.
You still see that in the comments. You still see that in the comments.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they're just making it a meme now, or they actually believe it. But no, I think it was it's definitely that, as a label, we're just trying to grow artists. Like, we want to grow you, even though we might just be working on one single with you. We still want you to grow. We still want this relationship to be beneficial for you. So we want to promote you, and we want to share you with our fans, because we gain from that as well. We get to show off a great artist that we're working with.
Yeah.
100%.
That's something that I've actually been giving as advice to smaller labels that I know. Like they always when they're like fresh to this whole like industry like work style or whatever you want to call it, like they usually don't know. They just think that their job is to sign music and release music. But the thing is, you need to give a label, or you need to give an artist, especially as a smaller label, you need to give an artist incentive to want to come back to your record label as well. So like show some appreciation. And even though, again, NCS being very successful, and a lot of the artists are coming back to NCS because, well, it's a very good record label, obviously. But then again, you get to a step where, like, well, let's talk about Alan Walker. Alan Walker got like picked off. He had no incentive to stay on NCS because the opportunity that was in front of him was just like way bigger, But
everyone would take it.
Yeah, obviously. But like if there would have been, Alan Walker's a bad example, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. Like, had there been like incentive for him to prefer to stay with NCS, like because he was being more appreciated as an artist and being more pushed, like using his branding on your branding and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Alan's a hard example, because Alan
it was the first one that got
the biggest opportunity in the world. He was offered the biggest opportunity in the world, and I'm so happy that he took that, because now he's Alan fucking Walker.
Yeah, obviously. But you know what I'm trying to say, though. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That example, though.
I suppose we always used to be happy to be a stepping stone label.
Yeah.
We used to be happy that, like, you'd send us music, we'd promote you, you'd get some really great streams, and that was it. We were then happy to level you up in terms of your monthly listeners. We've taken some artists from 0 monthly listeners to 1 million plus or whatever. We were happy to do that and then say, oh, go where else you want to go. we're still in that mindset of like, work with everyone. We want you to work with everyone. We don't want to just sign you and make sure you're stuck with NCS.
Yeah.
But I suppose what we do want to change the perception of is actually, we're not just a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Like, we can create an entire career for you. And I think we've done that for some artists that,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, like their full-time career is releasing music on NCS and other labels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I myself have a lot to thank like you guys for like just signing the record that I had with Debris a long time ago. And I'm still riding that wave right now. Like for signing Game Time.
Great to hear.
Tom's still writing the fucking like Until I Die wave.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But
like, you really
my opinion,
like having NCS as like a record label that is. It sounds like weird to say it, but is actually like more easily accessible for smaller artists and making them like kickstart their careers. So
that's our goal.
But the way I see it, so what you said there is like the relationship between the label and the artist as you go on. So once you start working more with a label, after a couple of releases, you can start from both sides agreeing to do more for each release as such. So you're always going to have an initial release where you kind of break into the label and you understand their process and everything. And once you've released a few tracks from it, you can be like, hey, let's do this, and this will make it way bigger. And the label will probably turn around and go, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that because they know you're capable of producing a track which will do well as such. So it's like anything with that. It's like you can say it can be a stepping stone label, or you can treat it as building yourself up within a certain label as such. So I think it goes either way with that.
100%. And you're right there. And it's also like the relationship. Like, we want to build relationships with people. We don't want someone to just come along and go, I've got 5 million monthly listeners, give me this, release my music. We don't want that. We want a relationship with the person and build an ongoing career. We want to, work with people.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We've been talking about this with a lot of other like just artists as well. Like this same thing, that how important like networking is and like actually getting like a close relationship with the people that you work with.
100% building that up, because I was saying before, something I've done before, and I think Dan's probably seen as well, is like doing these. I do like a 4 or 5 page presentation on what I want for the track and like the visual representation, everything with the track, and send that over. It's like, I think it's a really good way of representing how you want your release to completely be. And I don't know about you, but when you see something like this from label side, is it like good to see it straight away because the artist has a clear image? So.
Well, yeah, we've got a clear image on like what direction you want to go in, because we can come up with that idea from scratch, but it might be nothing like what you want. And also, I suppose it also sets the expectation of what you expect from us. You know, if in that PDF you're like, I want to spend 50 grand on something, we might be then like, oh, okay, Tom, I'm not sure this is going to work, but let's try this instead, you know?
Yeah. I get you completely.
And it's also like, I think I'm almost sidetracking a little bit now, but I believe another thing that we've talked about before, but it would be nice to get some confirmation on it, is a lot of the times, a lot of like artists get signed to like bigger record labels like NCS, and they think that their career is set, you know?
Right.
And what we've been saying is that, no, you need to take your own like responsibility to try and grow your own brand. It's not like the record label's responsibility on their own. Like, of course, the record label is there to like collaborate with you and try and like push you, but you need to have your own incentive. So like, if you don't see that from an artist, is that like a reason not to sign them in the future, where they're like, they don't even try to push themselves, they just put all the responsibility on you?
Yeah, I guess it's that, and also their ambition. Like, if their ambition is to be huge, but the output that they provide is this, and we need to then provide more than they're providing. Like, it's a collaboration ultimately.
Yeah, of course.
You know, this is a collaborative relationship. And I guess, like if it's that the expectation is that we're going to do more than they are going to do, then that's not a fair relationship. And I suppose there is some artists that I think of, and I think, they're happy with just releasing music and having decent Spotify streams, etc. That's what fulfills them. But I do get what you mean, where some artists are a bit like, they expect to get signed with a record label and then turn into Marshmello or Alan Walker or whatever. I mean, that just doesn't happen. There's a lot of people that get involved in that type of scale of artist.
Yeah, and especially these days, like with social media being so easily accessible, it's a double-edged sword in that way. Like, because branding is so easy, but it's so hard to get noticed. Like, to push yourself out there. But there's a lot of things that you could do. Like Tom's been, I don't know if you still do it, Tom. Are you still on TikTok? Are you still doing that?
No, I've given up.
You gave up on TikTok. Yeah. But like stuff like that, and like Instagram Reels, and just getting your own ideas how to like push your brand. You could just do it with images as well. Like Tom's. Tom's gonna shit on me here, but I like to wear a blazer on my Instagram and all that. He doesn't like it. Nobody fucking likes it.
But it's your brand. It's that's unique to you. Like people know you now for that. Like at least you've got something. And I think you guys are creating this podcast as content that's only going to promote your careers. So I think like you're 100% right there. Yeah,
we actually. There was 2 reasons we started doing this podcast to begin with. First of all, Tom was doing it for his uni work, but right now uni's over, so
we wanted to carry on with it, so I'm doing media production at university. I've literally just finished. Nice. So
the second reason is that we both wanted to just talk about the important stuff and also show the rest of the world and the listeners that we actually have voices, that we actually have opinions, and we can talk about them. So they get to know us closer, and they get to know the artists that we feature, the people like yourself, like industry professionals as well. So
it's good because what we were saying about brand and stuff. So I was thinking about this last year, like, do I want a logo? What do I want to make the face of my brand? Because I think we've all had this conversation recently where we're going towards this more personal touch of our brand, not just doing separate covers for everything, keeping something consistent. And my decision was I wasn't going to go down the logo route. I wanted just to make my face my brand, basically. So
you are the brand.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's been working quite well. I think another good example of that is Clark's, who we had on the other week.
Yes.
His new branding's really cool, consistent as well.
The artworks. Yeah.
So just simple stuff like that, I think does make a big difference because you're instantly recognizable in that sense.
Well, I noticed you guys both have been on artworks recently, right?
I'm pretty I feel like that's pretty important for me because I don't think that, even though Tom made my logo, I don't think it's super important for me to slap my logo on everything or just slap my name. I want people to know the name just by this face, So if they see a song come up on Spotify and they're like, oh, what's this song? Look over. Oh yeah, it's this guy, that guy over there. Then they look at the title, So they instantly get to know what I look like and all that.
I do think as well, from what I've seen on some places as well, when you start branding yourself like that, if you've got everything in place, if you've got a really good track, if you've got the good branding where it's something like that, you do see a difference in response to it because people can identify with it more directly. It does make a big difference. And if you're thinking about all this stuff before you send a track to a label, think about the brand around everything to do with your track, I think the label is going to be more inclined to work with you in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally.
All right. Are we running short on time now, Tom? Is it time?
I think we could do track of the week now. So as always, guests go first. So Dan, what's your track of the week?
Track of the week. And it has to be released this week.
Not necessarily. It could be an older song that you just really like. I think Clark's picked a really old song. No, he picked a new one from NCS if I'm not mistaken. But it could just be a song that you really enjoy at the time as well. So
I'm just looking through my likes. So there's one track I've been listening to a lot recently, which is Hearts on Fire by Elenium. Do you know that tune?
Yeah.
I don't personally know it, but
I've heard it. I've gotten that as a reference for Ghost Productions before, so I've heard it.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's so good. And then I'll do a second one if I'm allowed. It's literally been released today. It's an NCS tune, obviously, which is Biology by Cartoon, New Blue and Game Boy Terrorist. But it's like a drum and bass pop tune. You got to go and listen to it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
I haven't checked it out yet. I'm gonna listen to it after.
I'm super into that drum and bass pop vibe, so I'm definitely gonna check it.
Yeah.
So,
what's yours then, Jasper?
Vibes by Guy Arthur. If I'm not mistaken, that's even a self-release from him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a while ago since I heard like a really hard but still very good song. And then of course there's the pick that you told me that you were gonna get, but I can't pick that now. But still.
Yeah. So I'm choosing the new Magnus and What's Good song, Sanity.
Oh, I was thinking about that.
It's such a tune, man. I'm so happy they finally released it now.
It is a bang, but I know Ewan's in the process of dropping his whole House Party EP, which is on cool NCS
tracks.
Yeah, and they're all bangers from what I've heard. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, Sanity is an absolute tune, so it's a good start.
Yeah.
So definitely. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you so much for coming on, Dan.
Yeah.
This is normally the point where we say promote your stuff. So I guess check out NCS.
Check out NCS. Yeah, if you just search us on YouTube.
Also, we forgot about one thing, Tom, and that is congratulations to 10 years on NCS now. The 10 years.
Oh, boom.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thanks so much, guys. Yeah, we're hopefully doing some fun things around 10 years. So,
yeah, man.
People watch out for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everyone for watching. If you have any artists or industry professionals that you want on in other weeks, drop it as a comment below. We'll check it out. And as always, subscribe, follow us on all our different social medias. We'll see you next week. Cheers. Peace.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye.